It was just a wonderful script, but I had no idea that it was going to have the ongoing impact that it did.
Horror.
Before passing away at the age of 89, Robert Redford finally revealed the shocking truth about a banned episode in the legendary series The Twilight Zone. This episode, which was pulled from the screen shortly after airing, had been forgotten for more than 55 years due to its content being deemed too bold, sensitive, and considered dangerous for audiences at the time. Now, as the secrets behind it are unveiled, this story not only shakes Hollywood, but also forces the public to confront the limits that art was once subjected to. Redford, who appeared in this episode at the age of just 26, admitted that it was one of the most haunting roles of his career. And why couldn't Robert Redford, an icon of cinema, face the very work he once participated in? To answer this question, we will delve into the truth behind the episodes that were banned for decades. You may be shocked to learn that all of us have been deceived for far too long until the truth was finally uncovered. The Twilight Zone, the dangerous borders. To understand the profound influence of this episode, we first need to explore the Twilight Zone. Premiering in 1959 at a time when America was basking in the glow of the post-war era, a period where prosperity was mixed with underlying anxieties. World War II had just ended, but it was immediately followed by the Cold War. The threats of nuclear bombs, the arms race, McCarthyism, and fears of communism seeped deeply into the collective consciousness of society. It was in this context that The Twilight Zone emerged as a voice daring to address topics that other shows avoided. Rod Serling, the man behind the series' success, was not only a talented screenwriter, but also a rebel in the television industry. He not only created the show, but also personally wrote 92 out of the 156 episodes. As a World War II veteran, Serling had first-hand experience of the horrors of war, experiences that not only shaped his worldview, but also became the inspiration for his work. However, Serling quickly realized that the television industry wouldn't allow him to express his ideas directly. The barriers of censorship imposed by networks and sponsors were like an impenetrable steel wall. A prime example was Noon on Doomsday, a teleplay he wrote in 1956, inspired by the murder of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old black boy brutally killed. But fearing backlash from Southern audiences, sponsors demanded that the entire setting and characters be altered, turning the story into a hollow work that completely erased its original message. With The Twilight Zone, Serling found a clever way to overcome these barriers. He used science fiction as a form of disguise. Rather than directly addressing racial discrimination, he set his stories on Mars. Instead of criticizing totalitarianism, he created a supernatural child controlling an entire town. This approach was not only unique, but also effective, allowing the series to bypass censorship while leaving a deep impression on its audience. Even so, despite its success, The Twilight Zone couldn't please everyone. In an American society obsessed with the Cold War and endless fears, the show's sensitive topics were like a dagger probing unhealed wounds. Out of the 156 episodes, The Encounter stands as one of the boldest and most controversial. First aired on May 1st, 1964, this episode was crafted as a bottle episode, meaning the entire story takes place in a single setting with just two main characters. In a cramped attic, Fenton, a bitter World War II veteran, played by Neville Brand, faces Arthur, a young Japanese-American man, played by George Takei. Initially, the two appear cordial, but their conversation quickly escalates into tension as war traumas and racial prejudices begin to surface. The climax hits when Arthur reveals that his father was a Japanese spy involved in the Pearl Harbor attack. This confession turns an already suffocating atmosphere into something unbearable. The wounds, suspicions, and bitterness from both sides make the story a haunting psychological battle. This episode, with its audacious content, shocked both the audience and CBS, the broadcasting network. However, it was also quickly criticised and pulled from circulation, becoming one of the least-known works of the Twilight Zone. 2. Why was the encounter banned? Immediately after airing, the encounter sparked a wave of fierce backlash, particularly from the Japanese-American community. They were outraged by the episode's implication that Arthur's father was a spy during the Pearl Harbor attack. This not only caused hurt, but also reopened the wounds of those who had been subjected to internment camps during World War II. More than 120,000 Japanese Americans, most of them US citizens, had been forcibly placed into internment camps, stripped of their property and freedom solely because of their race. Despite no evidence of widespread betrayal, the episode inadvertently reignited suspicions, further harming a community striving to reclaim its dignity. The 1960s were a time when American society was not yet ready to confront its past mistakes. The encounter served as a bombshell during this sensitive period, forcing viewers to face uncomfortable truths. CBS, fearing reactions from both audiences and sponsors, quickly pulled the episode from the airwaves. Another reason for the ban was the episode's ambiguity and refusal to provide clear answers. Fenton, the war veteran, was not a hero. He was a man haunted by his past, admitting to killing an unarmed Japanese soldier and keeping the man's sword as a trophy. Meanwhile, Arthur was not a blameless victim either, carrying the bitterness of an oppressed generation. When Arthur confessed about his father, viewers were left wondering, was it the truth? Or was it a lie he told himself to justify the injustices his family had endured? This complexity made it difficult for audiences of the time to accept. In a society accustomed to seeing things in black and white, good versus evil, the encounter posed questions with no easy answers. Sponsors, wary of the episode's sensitive themes, pressured CBS to act. Finally, Rod Serling, the man who constantly pushed the boundaries of television, had taken the story further than the network could tolerate. The encounter was not just an episode about war or race, it was an indictment of how America treated its own citizens. For CBS, this was too much to bear. The episode was buried for 55 years, only being re-aired in 2016. Yet, even decades later, the encounter remains a work that forces viewers to confront the most uncomfortable corners of history. But why does this episode remain so significant? And why does it remain impactful even after more than half a century? The answers lie in the next section. 3. Why is this episode important? The encounter is not just a censored episode, but a symbolic work that deeply reflects issues of society, prejudice, and guilt. Issues that belong not only to the past, but also continue to resonate today. The episode serves as a haunting depiction of the scars left by war, not only on the battlefield, but also in the hearts and minds of the survivors. Fenton, a World War II veteran, is imprisoned by his memories of his brutal actions, from killing an unarmed Japanese soldier to keeping the victim's sword as a war trophy. His bitterness and guilt are not just personal pain, but a reflection of an entire generation haunted by moral wounds that will never heal. Meanwhile, Arthur, a young Japanese American, carries the pain of a community that was betrayed by its own country. He represents Japanese Americans who were interned during World War II, stripped of both their freedom and dignity solely because of their ethnicity. Arthur is not merely a fictional character, but a symbol of those who endured discrimination and injustice, treated as outsiders in their own homeland. What makes the encounter unique is its refusal to offer easy answers. Both Fenton and Arthur are victims of circumstances beyond their control, but at the same time, they carry prejudice and hatred within them, trapping them in a cycle of pain and suffering. This story isn't just relevant to the 1960s, it also reflects the realities of modern society. In recent years, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, hate crimes against Asian Americans have risen significantly. From women being harassed on subways to elderly individuals being murdered on the streets, these incidents show that prejudice and fear of the other remain pervasive. Arthur in the episode mirrors those who carry the weight of history and discrimination. Meanwhile, Fenton, with his prejudice and fear, represents those who cannot escape the shadows of the past, allowing it to shape how they perceive others. When the encounter was re-aired in 2016 and again in 2025, it was more than just an entertainment program. It was a powerful reminder of the power of art to confront uncomfortable truths. The rebroadcast version preserved the original content without edits or added disclaimers, allowing modern viewers to grapple with the emotions and questions the episode provokes. The reactions from modern audiences were not much different from those when the episode first aired. Some praised its boldness and authenticity, while others found its content too heavy and uncomfortable. However, no one could ignore it. The encounter forces viewers to reflect, to question the complex emotions within themselves. For this reason, the encounter retains its value even after more than half a century. It is not just a story about war or racism, but a reminder that these issues continue to plague our society today. 6. The banned episodes. In the history of the Twilight Zone, the encounter was not the only episode to be banned from circulation for over 50 years. Several other episodes were also removed from the broadcast lineup due to controversial content or legal issues. A Short Drink from a Certain Fountain, 1963. This episode generated controversy not because of its social themes, but due to legal concerns. The story follows Harmon Gordon, a middle-aged man obsessed with his aging who decides to test a youth serum invented by his brother. While the serum temporarily rejuvenates him, its side effects cause Harmon to regress into a child, leaving his youthful wife in a tragic and awkward situation. CBS removed the episode from syndication not because of sensitive content, but due to fears of legal risks. Reports suggested that the script bore similarities to an unproduced concept by another writer who threatened legal action. To avoid lawsuits, CBS opted to withdraw the episode from circulation. Despite this, A Short Drink from a Certain Fountain remains a memorable story that delves into humanity's obsession with youth and the consequences of tampering with nature. Miniature, 1963. Miniature is a unique, magical, and deeply emotional episode about loneliness. The story revolves around Charlie Parks, played by Robert Duvall, a shy and introverted man who finds the only solace in his life when he discovers a dollhouse in a museum. Strangely, Charlie believes that the dolls inside the house are alive and that only he can see them. The episode explores not only personal loneliness, but also humanity's growing detachment in modern society. However, this episode was quickly pulled from syndication due to copyright disputes. The family of Charles Beaumont, the writer of the episode, Weisel, claimed that CBS did not have the long-term rights to broadcast it. As a result, Miniature disappeared from reruns for decades, despite its popularity with audiences. It wasn't until the early 2000s, when legal issues were resolved, that the episode reappeared in DVD collections. During its absence, Miniature was often regarded as a forgotten gem of the Twilight Zone. Sounds and Silences, 1964. Sounds and Silences is a satirical episode about humanity's obsession with noise. The protagonist, Roswell G. Flemington, is a man who adores loud sounds like ship horns and cannon fire. However, he suddenly finds himself cursed when every sound becomes unbearably amplified, driving him to madness. This episode was pulled from syndication after a former naval officer filed a lawsuit, claiming that the character of Flemington was modelled after him without permission. To avoid further legal complications, CBS decided to remove the episode from future broadcasts. Years later, Sounds and Silences resurfaced in home media collections, reintroducing audiences to this quirky and thought-provoking story. An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, 1964. Unlike other episodes, An occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge was not banned due to controversy, but because of copyright restrictions. This episode was originally a French short film adapted from Ambrose Bierce's short story of the same name. It tells the story of a man sentenced to be hanged during the American Civil War. In his final moments, he imagines escaping and running home to his family, only for the audience to realize that it was all an illusion in the last seconds before his death. CBS purchased the rights to air the film as an episode of The Twilight Zone, but the contract allowed for only one broadcast. After its initial airing, the episode disappeared from American television for years. This was one of the rare instances where The Twilight Zone incorporated an external production rather than creating its own, making it a unique entry in the series' history. 7. The Twilight Zone and its modern revival. More than 60 years after its debut, The Twilight Zone continues to captivate audiences. It is not just a television series, but a cultural phenomenon that reflects humanity's deepest fears and anxieties across different eras. In today's world, where viewers increasingly seek complex and meaningful narratives, The Twilight Zone has found new life. In 2019, Jordan Peele, renowned director of Get Out and Us, revived the series on CBS All Access. As both producer and narrator, Peele infused the show with modern themes such as racial discrimination and technological overreach, presenting stories that felt both familiar and contemporary. Beyond television, The Twilight Zone has expanded into other creative projects. In 2025, writer Dan Waters launched a new comic book series that retained the original show's mysterious and thought-provoking spirit. Meanwhile, actor-director Ben Stiller developed a Twilight Zone feature film centered on the journey of a pilot who leaps 125 years into the future. The enduring question is, why does the Twilight Zone still matter? The answer lies in its bold approach to addressing society's most difficult and uncomfortable truths. By refusing to provide easy answers, the series forces viewers to confront moral ambiguities and the grey areas of human nature. From Rod Serling's original vision to modern successors like Black Mirror and Severance, The Twilight Zone has proven that art can challenge and reshape our understanding of the world. The Encounter is more than just a fictional story. It is a mirror reflecting the deep wounds of history, the prejudices, and the pain that still exist in today's society. With its bold approach to addressing sensitive topics, the episode transcends conventional entertainment to become a powerful reminder of the strength of art in confronting the truth. Despite its controversy, The Encounter retains lasting value thanks to its ability to compel audiences to reflect on humanity's profound issues: responsibility, guilt, and reconciliation with the past. Over half a century later, the episode remains strikingly relevant, proving that stories daring to ask difficult questions possess a vitality that transcends time and space. The Encounter reminds us that only by confronting the wounds of history can we move toward a fairer and more compassionate future. Thank you for reading. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on more compelling cinematic stories. See you in the next one.